Yeah, we're getting the mic back to you. Hang on just a second. We want people to be able to hear you.
Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Ted. I live in Waterbury, and I am a very strong supporter of the Second Amendment. And in regards to different kinds of weapons that we have in this country, before 1968, I believe it was, you used to be able to have a machine gun, like it was belt-fed ones you see on Humvees and all that. You can have it sent to your front door, no background check, no anything. And how many mass shootings do you recall in the 60s and prior? Not many. I think that the main problem here is we have kids being raised by TVs and video games instead of being raised by good parenting. And that's why they feel such a disrespect for the human form and the beauty that is in human life. In regards to the number of 30,000 people dying of gun deaths a year, did you know that roughly half of those, maybe 50, depends on the year, 50% roughly are suicides? My cousin did commit suicide this past year with I don't know if he committed to kill himself, but he did kill himself. And I don't blame the gun at all for this. I blame his choice of his way out of a bad situation he got in. And my last question is, Connecticut already has a Clinton-style assault weapons ban. And you want to toughen that ban by removing the pistol grip from AR-15s, or any rifle for that matter. My question is, what difference does it make if I hold a rifle like this or like this? And it's not spray fire, because if you look at any law enforcement officer, and we have some beautiful law enforcement officers here, and soldiers, they fire most of the time, unless they're in a suppression mode, which you kind of fully automatic to do, they fire from the shoulder. And the angle of the stock pistol grip was designed to be used with the shoulder, not down here like the Browning automatic rifle was in World War II. If you watch the soldiers, they volley fire from the head because the rifle's weight, the angle of the grip. So the pistol grip is designed for shoulder fire, and the rifle grip down here is made for spray fire on a fully automatic rifle. Thank you.
Okay, so I think we're trying to keep on schedule. I mean, these are all fusing together, but the third category is criminal background checks and trafficking.
So we talked a little bit about that already. The NICS system, the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, is underfunded, and we've got a bunch of states that don't report their information. This is, I'm gathering as much information as I can about what we can do to fix this. Because clearly, I mean, in Connecticut, we report our information and we send it to the national system. So do 19 other states. But 30 states don't. And that's really unfair to all the citizens of the United States, and it's unfair to every lawful gun owner and every federally licensed firearms dealer who runs a background check, because they're only running against 20 states. And that's something that just isn't working, folks. And I think it was something I was not aware of, I have to say, until 2 months ago. I didn't know that. And that's something where we need a change at the federal level to make sure that every citizen in every state gets the same level of protection of knowing that criminals who felons are not supposed to have access to guns. Well, if states don't report their felons to the list, we can't do our job. So that's one thing we have to do. It's also for domestic abuse. As you may know, right now, actually, we're waiting in the House of Representatives to get a bill called up on a renewal of the Violence Against Women Act. Women and men too, but in households where there's domestic abuse, if a firearm is present, they're 5 times as likely to die. That is a problem, and that is why, under federal law, you are not allowed legally to have a firearm if you have been convicted of domestic violence. Again, if we have a system that doesn't report it to the national system, or if someone can sell a weapon without checking against that, then that's putting whoever has been abused at great risk, and their children as well. And I think as a country we can agree that that is not fair. That's not fair to those families. So we need to plug these considerable holes in our background check system. Everyone I've talked to believes that there will need to be exemptions for gifts between family members, which we know happens. I know members of the U.S. Senate who come from some of the western states that are very big states, and they may have to travel a very long distance to get someone who can actually process a private sale through a federally licensed firearms dealer. So we're working on trying to make this as usable as possible and realistic as possible, but nevertheless recognize if the issue is the person behind the gun, which many of you folks here I know have raised tonight, then we have to have a system that can identify and not allow weapons in the hands of these folks. So again, let's talk about that. Let's talk about what we can do to strengthen that system. Ideas you have. 1.4 million people were rejected last year. So when the system's used, it does work to help keep us safer, but it's just not used enough. It's a system full of too many holes, and there are issues about, on the mental health side, of mental fitness to own firearms. So let's try to talk about this part right now if we can, and I really welcome your input. And again, I really want to thank all of you for being here tonight and for your passion and your commitment to try to do better as a country.
Let's start with one of the questions submitted on the note cards, and this is from Margaret Ann Peters from Sandy Hook. She's asking, would you endorse a national registry of guns rather than relying on states to transfer the data in a timely and complete manner? You were just talking about some of the deficiencies.
You know, at this point, I think our apparatus is all set up to work through states, and states are the ones that do this registry. I know when I was at Hines in Cheshire the other day, two guys, and this was to someone's question about slowdown, I'll tell you, they're flying like hotcakes in Cheshire with gun permits, and they are in every town in this state. So there's been no impeding in this state of permits being issued. So I think at this point we should be working with improving the system we have and trying to adopt a whole new system. So I think at this point, again, we've got to take steps to work with what we've got and improve what we've got. I think that's the appropriate way to go forward.